As an American, I eat apple pie, play baseball under its blue skies. As an American, I travel this land and follow her roads wherever I can. From sea to shining sea, I've seen a lot, and none of it will be forgot. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. I was born into freedom in a wonderful land of mountains and plains, rivers and lakes. Forever American is what I am. A past as rich as any can be. My father's worked hard to give this to me. I love this place I come from. To live another way I cannot foresee. As an American, I eat apple pie, play baseball under its blue skies. As an American, I travel this land and follow her roads wherever I can. From sea to shining sea, I've seen a lot, and none of it will be forgot. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. As an American, I've been to the peaks of majestic mountains where the air is sweet. I've watched the eagle as it soars in beautiful skies that just can't be ignored. And by this country I'll always stand, for freedom and liberty for every man. When times are hard and things get rough, America always stands ready and rough. As an American, I eat apple pie, play baseball under its blue skies. As an American, I travel this land and follow her roads wherever I can. From sea to shining sea, I've seen a lot, and none of it will be forgot. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. Forever American is what I am.
Hello, welcome you guys. How you guys doing tonight? Hi Lewis, hi Susan, hi Nana, hi Debbie, hi Tia, hi Rodney, hi Debbie Martin, hi Pam, hi Lynn, hi Matt, hi Corinne, hi Richard, I already said hi Tia, hi Michael, hi Kevin, hi Galinda, hi Teresa, or Michelle, sorry. How you guys all doing tonight? Hopefully you guys are having a good night. You know, White House is throwing this whole cocaine thing out of play now. So we're not even going to get to see what's happening with that because they're no longer going to investigate it. They narrowed it down to possibly 500 people. And Hunter Biden was in the White House that weekend. So I don't know if they discovered it was Hunter Biden. Not saying they did. Definitely shows that something's happening. You know, the government's definitely covering up for the Bidens every time they turn around. Yeah, the White House sniff. Got to keep that White House nice and clean. Oh, it's ridiculous, though. It is honestly ridiculous. Yeah, pretty much everybody knows it's Hunter, even though they won't say it directly. We know the facts. I mean, come on. It's a joke at this point when you're playing these games that we're seeing. Hopefully, everybody's still able to see the stream because I'm not. Weird. There we go. Yeah, that was weird for a second. Hi, Linda. How you doing tonight? But the U.S., let's talk about how the U.S. is trying to start a war with everybody. No fingerprints on the bag, no DNA, no nothing ever found. Even on the locker, no fingerprints, no DNA. Even though those lockers are touched hundreds of times, supposedly, a week. No fingerprints found on that. Somebody steals the key to that locker, so we'll find out sooner or later. Somebody eventually will break it. People just have to do what they do. But the U.S., of course, sending F-16 fighter jets now to protect ships from Iranian seizures in the Gulf region. We have so many problems in the Gulf region right now. None of the Gulf nations want to do business with us anymore, and it shows. I mean, it's getting worse by the day. And fortunately, we have to deal with this. This is a head-on problem that we're going to have to do something about. But the U.S. sending jets to the area from Iranian seizures, supposedly, in the Gulf region, it's just ridiculous. We're honestly trying to step on everybody's toes possible at this point, between building massive amount of bases around China, beefing up security, or beefing up the amount of fighter jets used around the Gulf region now. When we know the only ally we have there is truly Israel. Of course, they're not even in the Gulf. This is all crazy. Absolutely crazy. And Pentagon, of course, saying it's sending there to arrange an agreement with A-1 attack aircraft that have been patrolling there, as Iran has tried to seize 2 oil tankers from the Strait last week, opening fire on one of them. I mean, the problem is nobody wants to deal with the U.S. anymore. We see that with the U.S. dollar, of course, de-dollarization happening. And Bidenomics is killing our trade. Of course, we'll all have to deal with that. Thank you, Linda, for that $5 donation. Definitely appreciate that. Oh, that's U.S., of course, and South Korea answered for North Korea's ICBM launch, their missile test, North Korea, which they test missiles all the time. We should be used to it by now. No missiles have hit us yet, luckily. But now we're going to provoke them. We're going to provide a heavy air power drill involving B-52 bombers, bombers that we use for nuclear missiles, Stratoforce, over the Korean Peninsula. I mean, this is crazy. Knowing that this is going to, of course, intensify things with North Korea, again, provoking a war somewhere is what their plan is. This is crazy. We are watching this unfold day by day. The U.S. pushing everywhere it can, anywhere it can, waiting for a war to break out. We don't have the military or the manpower to fight a war now. Of course, let's be honest, 15,000 short on recruitment this year. That's just ridiculous. The demonstration, of course, flew for 74 minutes, causing mass panic, of course. It's ridiculous. North Korea is going to continue to develop its missile program and nuclear program. At the same time, China, Russia, and North Korea are all developing extreme EMP weapons. The EMP weapons that we have seen in the past that were, of course, tested in the past were not designed to produce electronic pulses. Now we're seeing more nuclear payload inside of a smaller casing, inside of a thinner casing, allowing, of course, more radiation to cause an electromagnetic pulse, gamma rays primarily. And all these countries are working on it. I mean, China has nuclear missiles that they can fly around the world, literally, circle the globe, without us even knowing they launched it until after, of course, touches down right where they planned it before it's touched down at. By saying the U.S. is ready for or prepared for any of this is just ridiculous. Even Democrats are now snubbing Biden with a vote against the cluster bombs for Ukraine. 50 Democrats, nearly 50 House Democrats, voted for an amendment for the National Defense Act that would, of course, sought to block the move for the president providing cluster munitions to Ukraine. Crazy. Crazy that if the bill failed, though, 49 Democrats and 80 or 98 Republicans supported the bill stopping this. But our nation is, even our leaders that are in Washington, the House and the Senate, are pro-war at this point. Cluster munitions obviously being sent can lead to a lot more. Of course, we don't know what other weapons are going there. Of course, as we're talking about this, Milley is out there saying we need to speed up weapons delivery. The U.S. needs to speed up delivery of weapons to Taiwan and Ukraine because of this imminent threat that is facing these countries, supposedly. Imminent threat. That's just crazy. I mean, even Europe pledging Ukraine weapons it can't even make. They're not the only ones. Ukraine doing, or not North Korea or South Korea doing the same thing. With all good intentions this week, NATO summit didn't mean much given the West dwindling arsenal and depleted industrial base. We don't have the weapons to give. This weak range with good ammunitions intentions that came from every member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization summit, even if differences persist about Ukraine's possible membership of the alliance, yet harsher judgment about what is taking place, yawning gulf between words and deeds. I mean, the dire state of weapon procurement on both sides of the Atlantic is sad. The U.S. is in a better place than Europe, but even NATO's mightiest nation faces serious difficulties in sustaining its aid to Ukraine. Forget for a moment cluster munitions, but focus on the heated words, of course, the meeting, considering the astonishing reality that the U.S. is obligated to borrow or purchase conventional artillery ammunitions from South Korea. That is right. The munitions that we have given South Korea, we are purchasing back or getting back or borrowing back from South Korea now just to sustain shipments to Ukraine. Ukraine's not winning this war. The U.S. is not winning this war. This is a true point to what is happening. People need to wake up. We need to wake up as U.S. citizens. We need to wake up as what's happening in the world. Because there's a huge shortage of munitions. And the shortage of munitions doesn't end there. Trying to get munitions to, of course, other foreign countries, or allies, or semi-allies that we're not going to call allies, like Taiwan. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy watching what's happening. God forbid World War III breaks out anytime now. The U.S. is obviously pushing for it. But when World War III does break out, there's going to be serious problems. I mean, we're watching U.S. generals saying we need to speed up delivery to weapons in Taiwan in the coming years because China is going to make a move. Beijing reportedly demanded the sale of U.S. weapons to Taiwan stop, viewing them as unwanted support for, of course, part of China. That's Beijing's It's China's island, Taiwan. We, of course, say that on our own. Yeah, we are in World War III, whether we know it or not. The U.S. is just, of course, trying to push us to actually get us fully engaged. It's like Vietnam. We slowly went in and we never called it a war. We ended up piling a ridiculous amount of troops in because wartime was never declared by Congress. We just kept throwing troops at it and weapons at it. Of course, lost a lot of good men. Watching Miley, of course, say Taiwan needs air defense systems and that can target ships from land. We can't even supply weapons to Ukraine at this point. Not even with the full force of NATO members, including South Korea. I'm going to take weapons and stockpiles from other countries that are going to need them shortly. There's a big, big problem. It's obviously just getting worse. I mean, for more than a year now, I mean, even the German government was trying to rebuild its air forces or armed forces that had basically had nothing. Because for a long time, Germany wasn't allowed to. Right. But watching what's happening with all these other European and Nordic nations, the actions, of course, of sending arms and reinforcing Ukraine with munitions, not just munitions, but massive amounts of, let's call them paid adversaries, mercenaries, that's what they are. But mercenaries, which are basically their armed forces throughout NATO and our own, being hired as mercenaries to fight in Ukraine. So even our fighting force is being depleted day after day throughout the NATO nations. Of course, we're watching this and it's disgusting. It's just utterly disgusting. Fighting a third war with a third party, basically, because we're using Ukraine as our surrogate day in and day out. And South Korea's president, which makes no sense, made a visit, of course, to Ukraine and pledged to expand support. South Korea's president, most South Korean weapons actually come from the U.S., are given to them as a security guarantee because we have a security alliance with South Korea against North Korea. We're already taking the arms from South Korea, but South Korea promising more weapons to Ukraine? I mean, this is crazy. Watching this unfold day by day is getting worse. And Ukraine, of course, how is Western weapons performing in combat? That's a big question. The war is forcing experts to rethink ideas about war and becoming serious about testing for armaments. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine began last year, dozens of countries have moved to support Ukraine, providing humanitarian aid and military aid as a matter of principle. Among the weapons supplied to Ukraine's armed forces are both long-use and relatively new pieces of equipment. For all of them, full-scale war in Europe has become kind of a test of their effectiveness and conditioning in modern conflict operations. And we see how the war is going in Ukraine, with massive amounts of military aid, over $111 billion from the U.S. alone, going into Ukraine and nothing to show for it. I mean, the Europeans have sent $80 billion worth of money alone. I mean, this is ridiculous. How effective are these weapons in combat? That's the real question, and they're not. I mean, Leopard tanks and vehicles are having a bad start. Shortcomings of older models, such as wheeled tanks, have come to light, indicating they are no longer worth using in modern warfare. Of course, analysts attribute the mistakes in such vehicles as a lack of training to get these soldiers have been trained. And most of them are actual soldiers from those countries. They're just hired in as mercenaries. So saying that these would be better or more effective, the same tanks in a platoon in the US, is a joke at this point. Like France is talking, if they were operated by well-trained troops, there would be fewer losses of these tanks in Ukraine. Not because NATO troops are technically more adept to interacting with the tanks, but because they know how to operate them in combination with other systems in military and artillery infantry. So having better communication skills supposedly is going to make these weapons work better. But yet the conscripted people in Ukraine and the mercenaries that have been hired by Ukraine with the money that's been poured in are already trained on these and trained in communications. The problem is we cannot admit that we cannot fight a large-scale modern war. The use of drones by Russia has shown to be extremely effective. Something element of warfare that is revolutionary. It's truly the nature of warfare is changing before our eyes, sometimes quietly, sometimes spontaneously. With the doubt, foundations are being laid for a revolution, for a completely different way to fight. Like its introduction into aviation in the First World War, of course, these drones and everything else have shown their specific effectiveness where they're being used. Communications and electronic warfare have played a much more important role than any other war previously, which we don't even have any experience in, let's be honest. As we watch what's happening, I mean, the U.S. cyber division is well off par from these other countries. We're just getting into cyber for ourselves. Well, Russia and China have been using cyber warfare or cyber hacking to control a lot of nations' wealth. Of course, it's just getting more serious as time goes on. And Ukraine's having to turn to using Soviet era defense missiles as a, of course, offensive weapon to strike land targets. Russia has designed a lot of missile systems in its time, but of course, watching the Soviet-made S-2000 air defense system impacting small buildings right outside of Russia, or right out inside of Russia early Sunday. I mean, this is crazy. Using air defense missiles now to attack Russian citizens, not troops. He's the commander-in-chief. That's the problem. But Russia or Ukraine's starting to convert these missiles for use against ground targets. Means that they're in serious, dire shape right now. Of course, Russia claimed that the 4 missiles were defeated by electronic warfare and air defense fired while attempting to attack targets in Crimea. But we know they didn't hit none of the missiles in Crimea. We know that, of course, they tried to use S-300 VMs to attack the bridging going to Crimea. Ukraine did. And those were intercepted. That's not a question. We see this. We see Russia's air defense automatically engage and destroy the missiles that were on chart for those bridges. But watching this, using outdated weapons to fight a war because they have no weapons left. Our president, not just our president, but leaders of many countries stating they have no weapons left to fight with. There's no weapons left to give. Pretty sad. Where does that leave us? Where does that leave our country? Leaves us in a bad spot, especially for the future. Of course, having to follow through and lead our nation into a greater future will take a lot of change at this point. Between the corruption in our upper government on both sides of the aisle, it is a scary feat to be following. As we know, our tax dollars aren't going where they're supposed to go. Things that are paid off or supposed to be paid off, like Social Security and other things, that money's just going down the toilet. Literally. People are having to witness this. People are having to witness going hungry for the first time in many years in America. People are going hungry because America does not have the money. So they're cutting programs like food stamps, cutting programs like Social Security and disability benefits, housing. Oh, wait, we can house migrants. Let's talk about the immigration problem. We have Chinese men of military age somehow paying $80,000 to $200,000 to enter our country illegally, paying the cartels. Anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000 is what cartels are charging right now to get a Chinese person across, a Chinese man of military age. But they're still coming. Of course, you can look that up. It's happening. It's not a question. It's looking more demented by the day. Yeah, even Russians are coming in. Russians are paying to get into our country as well. We're watching this happen by the thousands. Cartels are making ridiculous amounts of money. Why would they stop? They don't care about our security or guarantees. Where are they getting the money? Obviously, the government is funding these people to come here. And if foreign governments are funding people to come here, there's a problem. They're not here to do good things. If you have somebody paying $80,000 to come into our country illegally, I can guarantee they're not here to better themselves. Nobody would pay a ridiculous amount of money to better themselves in America, especially now with the shape we're in. This is a sad fact that people need to understand. It's only getting worse day by day. Southern border now, Mexico is, of course, going after Texas for putting barrels in the Rio Grande. Yeah, they're here to destroy us from the inside out, not a question. I just wish people would understand what's happening and look, wake up. As we're all one Americans with America. This isn't black, white, Democrat, or Republic. This is serious issues. Challenging times are here. As we watch what's happening, yeah, they got this money's coming from China. China's paying to get their people into the U.S. Russia's paying to get people into the U.S. through the southern border. It's not a question. We know that. We see the money trails. How do you stop it? We're already losing our allies south of us, one after another. That's sad. People have their heads in the sand because they believe America's still strong. They don't believe that anybody will touch American soil. People need to wake up. It's already happening. Right below our very feet at this moment. Sorry I wasn't live, you guys, last night. You know, I had a headache, but this is going crazy. The world is going crazy. And nobody is paying attention anymore. Nobody cares. Try to find something on mainstream media. that actually talks about the true problems in our nation? I mean, by the time we find anything that's true, that's already pushing to another side. It is a sad shape of events that are unfolding. When the U.S. has to take weapons back from South Korea just to fight in a third-party fight in Ukraine. We're literally having to take weapons away from a country that could easily break out in war at any time to supply another country that is at war that we pushed to stay at war. You got to remember, when we're talking about Ukraine, a peace treaty was made not even a month after the war started. Not even a month. U.S. officials and European officials pushed to get Ukraine not to agree to void the peace treaty. And that's what they did. We're all pawns in a game tonight. We're pawns in a game of what America makes. What our leaders want to see happen and what we want to see happen are two different things. Nobody talks about Russia begging for NATO or UN peacekeepers to go into Ukraine and stop Ukraine from killing its own people before Russia even went in. Or to, of course, when they asked for the U.S. not to sell long-range missiles to Ukraine that could hit Moscow. Oh no, the U.S. was going to go through with that. That's a deal we never talk about. That's when the buildup started happening at the border of Ukraine. But all that is, that's all Russia's fault. Russia's fault. China's fault. Now we got all the Gulf countries, that's all their fault. They don't want to deal with us. South America, that's their fault. We didn't do anything wrong. All these countries just are making decisions to turn around and say, we're not listening to the U.S. anymore. We're not going to be strangled by the U.S. dollar. And that's our leaders' problem. Our leaders caused this. And I can say that with honesty. Because without pushing, of course, and pushing, making it seem like the only way is the American way. How we do it here is the right way. Obviously, it's not. We have protests in our own country. People, of course, not wanting to do things. We have fighting amongst the left and the right over ridiculous issues when there's much bigger parts to play. We have people like Biden in office that are plenty of information has come around the bribery schemes and everything else he's been involved in. Nobody does anything about that. Cocaine found in our White House, the most secure building, supposedly in the world. That could have been any kind of anything. That could have been anthrax or, you know, it probably had fentanyl, and it's here in the U.S. It's not my problem. It is our problem at this point. No, they're not part of NATO, but NATO gave them guarantees for security and sovereignty. So if Russia starts to win, like to make serious progress, that means we would be pulled into this war immediately. As sad as that sounds. We would be immediately pulled into this war. And that's a problem. That's a problem for not just me, for not just for you. I mean, what are our future generations going to say? What are your kids going to say when they're going out to protest the government taking their freedoms, limiting what they can say, limiting what they can do? When your kids go out to protest and say, Mom, I lost my friend. He got killed last night because the government killed him. during a protest, and they ask you, where were you when this happened? Where were you when they took over America on the inside? Did you stand up? Did you say anything? Did you do anything? Did you try to stop them? Did you even care? Just remember that. Because that's what our kids are going to be asking. That's what the next generation is going to be asking. God bless you guys. God bless America. Please be safe. Of course, be prepared. Be ready for anything, because anything can happen at any time. If you can afford to support us, please do. We definitely need the support. Okay. Time to stand up. It's time to be heard. I don't care if you have to stand with a sign in front of your local city council saying, I need to be heard. America needs to stand up and take action. Yeah. So Monday, I'll see you guys then. Be safe, be strong, and God bless our country, and let's make it great again. Let's bring America back to what it needs to be. God bless you all. Good night.